If they are using Facebook, they don't think about the consequences.
Would that solve the problem? That people are like, hey, we're protesting,
I'm not sure, because people are just want a simple, nice life. What is wallet? What is address? That you can have multiple addresses under a single wallet and then change all those networks. It is like the new, a little new, or maybe completely new, that depends how you see, a way of writing books.
Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Life Without Purse. And today, our special guest is Konrad Kokosa, .NET developer with huge experience in programming. He's also an author, so he's not just a doer, but teacher, an entrepreneur, a speaker, but most importantly, great enthusiasm of something that's already here. For some, it's the future. It's not even on their map. And that technology, it's called Web3. And that's exactly the project that we'll focus on. Not the project, but technology. But the project is called Crowdpub. So, Konrad, welcome to the podcast. And let's start with your story, and we will transition into Crowdpub.
Hello.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. It's so funny that when we record with people, from Poland, we usually record in Polish. But today, I really like that people in Poland, they're like, hey, let's go global and let's speak in English so other people can understand us.
Definitely. And that's why two Polish guys are speaking in English to each other, right?
Exactly. So if someone Googles you or goes on YouTube, they can see your talks because you're a speaker, you're a developer. But I want to ask about maybe, like a tip for people that are not native English speakers. Why should they learn to explain, and communicate in English? Why is that beneficial?
Because technology is global, so it really doesn't matter to limit yourself to something which is global. Like if you are a .NET developer and if you have a knowledge about .NET, you completely can speak in, everyone in the world will understand you if you will be speaking in English. So why to limit yourself? Like, okay, you can speak in Polish probably because it's your native language, so it will be a little bit easier, but as a programmers, we know English at some level, at least to understand that it is called read technical documentation level, but still you can really practice a little, just do it, just speak and go global. I believe it is worth it.
Oh, 100%. And I think I even committed a book called Personal Branding in IT, and it was 2018. And then one of the chapters is to really focus on the language, on the communication, because your skills are the most important base foundation of everything that you do. But communication, that's like another layer. So you can actually accelerate in your career, in your life. And let's focus on Web3. I just came back from Web3 conference in Las Vegas.
One of many which are now happening.
One of many, yeah. So let's talk about Web3 and let's transition into your project, Crowdpub. What made you sort of, being interested in Web3 and, in blockchain, going from Web2? Why not just, hey, let's stick in Web2, there's so much work, there's so many things to do and so many problems to solve.
Very good question. In the end, it was just because I wanted to understand it, because there was a lot of talking and many of the such voices that I've heard was not so positive, I would say. There was a lot of, hate even, or negative talking about that it is a scam, that it is only a huge financial pyramid and so.
Mm-hmm. It's a bubble.
And it's a bubble, obviously, and it is just worth absolutely nothing. And there was this letter of responsible fintech policy written by Nobel's computer scientists saying that it should be regulated, but they understand probably prohibited, because they were just saying that it is so nonsense that it should be ever invented or something like that. So, but on the other hand, if I was seeing such a lot of things happening around it. I just wanted to make the best way to understand, to have your own opinion about something is to understand it, not to rely on someone else's voice or opinion. So I started to read, I started to dig in. I really wanted to get the grasp what it is all about, this Web3, why this is so much talking. It is indeed something interesting behind that, or maybe it is just a bubble indeed, something invented to make some rug pulls and scams. And the more I was reading, the more I was into it, I found it more and more interesting. Like, obviously there is this level, because this technology is highly, unfortunately or fortunately, related to finance. So we have a lot of finance, not good smell, I would say, around it. But still, if you will really want to understand it, it is really nice technology. Like, I'm a nerd. Since I remember I was interested in not only computers in general, but how did they work into the lowest level? How do you write an efficient program? How the algorithms are written? All this nerd stuff was also always interesting me. And when you start to read and try to understand blockchain, you will notice a huge new world of very nice technology. I mean, there is a lot of really nice technology, algorithms, mathematics, cryptology, a huge amount of new things to learn. And I just thought, okay, so it is interesting, at least from the technological point of view. I'm seeing a lot more than this, small bad talking about it.
Okay, awesome. So today we will hear from the horse's mouth. We're gonna go deep.
Yeah.
We're gonna hear from the nerd, from someone who's day in, day out in the technology, and potentially what problems that technology solves, and we're not just gonna be looking at the media, the headlines, or the speculators, or people that wanna pump and dump projects and take your money. So awesome. Let's focus on the very important question for an average guy or an average girl that is listening to us. What real problem does Web3 or blockchain solve comparing to what we have right now? Like, they could say, hey, but look, we have YouTube, we have some, by the way, this video is going to go on YouTube, we have Spotify, we have
Which
Facebook.
Is Web2. Facebook is Web2.
Yeah, we have banking applications and everything is working fine. Why don't we just work with what we have? Why do we need to look constantly for new technologies and reinvent the wheel? So what's the problem that you see from your all your studies and sort of digging deep? What are we solving here?
From my perspective, obviously you can read slogans like Web3 is just decentralizing the internet again and returning control to the people and so on. It is all nice, but in the end it doesn't explain anything. Like, okay, but why, what it is, and who cares? Because people just want to use nice tools, right? If they are using Facebook, they don't think about the consequences. We are used to the fact that we are selling our data, private data. In fact, we are selling ourselves in the just because we want to watch.
What do you mean?
Nice.
If I stop you here for a sec, what do you mean we're selling ourselves?
I mean that it is not free, right? If we are using Facebook, for sure, no one thinks in the end what is the business model of Facebook. The regular user absolutely doesn't care what they are making money of, and from where there is the money stream, right? But in the end, they are living from, for example, advertisements that we are targeting because they know what we like because we are using them. So by selling ourselves, I'm saying we are selling our preferences, our hobbies, our private things that, maybe even we are not aware that we like something or we prefer some kind of movies or music, but in the end they know it because they are tracking us and they can compute your profile.
So what if people were to suddenly wake up, become aware and be educated and stick with the same technology, stick with Web 2? Would that solve the problem? That people are like, hey, we're protesting, you know?
I'm not sure, because people are just want simple, nice life and use nice tools. And if they don't feel exactly, if it is not their pain, who cares in the end? They are just providing content. We should not they, because it sounds like we are smarter. We are also doing that now. Even it will be published on YouTube, so the YouTube will earn money because they will have content that we are now creating, right? So we are all used to the fact that this obviously in the context of Web 3 and Web 2, it is this comparison between centralization and decentralization. Who in the end owns the data, who in the end may have financial incentive of doing things. And this is the main difference I'm seeing here. Like in Web 2, absolutely the main business model is always around the company. So the company is responsible because they have stakeholders and so on, and they have obviously its own employers, but they need to earn money, and they are earning it from you, me, because they are in the center of all this process. They are planning it. They are just having the income from all these advancements that are there, and so on and so on. And in case of Web 3, what I'm mostly seeing is it creates possibilities for new business models that are moving the ownership closer to the end user. Maybe not the ownership is the most important fact still, but also the financial incentive is moved closer to you or me. So because of all this permissionless type of technology that the blockchain is, the ownership, it is all public or may not, it depends. But in general, the goal is that you or me can have some more control, some financial incentive from doing things that now are not possible because it is all in hands of a specific company.
Wow.
Like, YouTube. The only thing that we can do about YouTube is to publish content then, and that's all. You cannot take out your movies and move it to another platform now, because it is in the end their content that they are kind enough that they may display it for your viewers, or maybe they be even kind enough to share this small, very small part of royalty or whatever, and you will be paid, so you will be able to buy a coffee once per month because you have some viewers. But
how about the argument that they say, hey, but we provide the platform, we've invested all the money into the technology, we pay for the hosting and
that's true, and I'm not idealistic here that now in case of Web3 everything will be owned by people, ruled by people, and there will be no company kind of responsibility. I believe in new business models, when even now maybe YouTube, maybe some new companies will create another models when you have more control over what you are doing with your own content. Like in my business that we will move on later on probably soon, as a kind of an example of this a little bit new, refreshed business model about book writing and publishing. The same with social media, the same with everything that people may create. That's one of the, I believe, new things that may emerge from that fact. I'm not seeing Web3 as something that will change the world absolutely, completely. It is not the revolution, although some people are willing to see it like that. But my really personal opinion is it will not happen, but it will change some models. Like the classic example of how Spotify has changed the music industry. It is not a super revolution, but it is really disruptive change, right?
So one question before we move to your awesome project called Crowdpub. One question that I have is, how far do you think in years, how far are we from the global adoption where we get Web3 to the same point where we are with Web 2? Very hard question, because the technology, it is not there. But how far do you think we are from the global adoption where we get Web3 to the same point where we are with Web 2?
Very hard question, because the technology, it is is developing in non-linear way, so it is really hard to predict anything. Now it sounds like it would be 5 years maybe, but because of this non-linear kind of changes, it may happen that in 2 years everyone will be using it, because there will be some super popular technology that will just spread it. We need some milestones, I believe, here. Like currently it is too hard to use. If you have ever used it, you know that you need to install this wallet, and then you need to create some password, and get your head around all this strange technology stuff. People don't want to take care about it. They just want to have a button to buy something, and that's all. So I believe this is the one of the places when this fight is happening now, I would say, to adopt the technology for regular people that don't want to take care about what is wallet, what is address, that you can have multiple addresses under a single wallet, and then change all those networks and the passphrase, and they don't care, and it should change. Another thing is, I believe, mobile technology. I mean, I would not say currently, because of these wallets are mostly web browser plugins, using any kind of Web3 technology and cryptocurrencies on mobile is not a good thing. It is even not, I would say, advised from some project, because those plugins are simply not created. What I'm trying to say, we need native technology for that on mobile, which will just skyrocket it by orders of magnitude probably also. And when it will happen, I have completely no idea. We have some very first news about this phone supporting crypto, or that phone that is created for Web3. But, it is all like, I don't know if it will be success. Maybe we need to wait until some big company will support it. I don't know. But from my perspective, I believe that it will be like, in 5 years, we will be really talking about it from a really different perspective. Like it will be just in kind of retrospective. Do you remember 5 years ago, no one understand it, and now everyone
just
is using it.
or maybe we need a tipping point, like and an event just shook everything. For example, 2020. You remember? I'm not gonna name that here because the algorithms don't like when you mention these things. But
exactly.
But you remember what happened to the adoption of remote work? Suddenly, everything became like, hey, let's work remote. Let's find a way. Let's make it happen. Adoption of Zoom. And countless of other tools and technologies that just facilitated that remote work environment. And then suddenly metaverse became so popular when, in fact, we've been in the metaverse for the last 20 years. But people just didn't want to approve it. Like, hey, let's fly around the globe to have a meeting for an hour. And that's still fine in the business context. But people kind of take that into consideration.
It may happen that kind of black swan will jump in, and it will just simply help to adopt it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it is so hard to predict. But even if something like that will happen, I believe we are this few years before the adoption will be visible. I'm not saying that it will be at the level of Facebook or social media in general, how we understand it now, but it will have some visibility in everyday life.
Got you. So transitioning and going into your project, and I want to make it sort of like on two levels, this kind of question. So on one way, you will tell about maybe opportunities in the context of blockchain and Web3, what opportunities they may be for people that are listening or watching us, and on the other hand, I want you to talk about Crowdpub, which is your project, and so what is Crowdpub? Tell us more about it. And I think we can add that awesome 1-minute clip here from Lex Friedman.
Books are a representation of human knowledge, a snapshot of human knowledge. And it would be interesting that we if we can somehow figure out a system that allows you to do sort of like a GitHub for books. Like if I buy a book on Amazon without having to pay again, can I get updates like V1.1, V1.2, and there's like release notes?
Right.
That would be incredible. It's not enough to do like a second edition or a third edition, but like minor updates. That's not just on your website, but actually go into the model that we used to buy books.
Right.
So I spend my money. Maybe I'll do a subscription service for $5 a month where I get regular updates to the books, and
Right.
then there's an incentive for authors to actually update their books such that it makes sense for the subscription, and that means your book isn't just a snapshot, but is a lifelong project.
Yeah, that was super funny because I'm obviously thinking about this project and developing the idea in itself for a few months. And when I just decided to publicly announce it, the next day someone has tweeted that Friedman is saying something really similar. So
Wow.
that was really funny coincidence, which is nice because it at least gives kind of, okay, someone else is thinking that it makes sense. So in general, as you said, Ivan, it connects because Crowdpub is something that I think is a way how Web3 may help to address specific problem. Because the problem with Web3 currently is that most of the projects we see are not business. Like they doesn't have real business models, and that was something that I was really I doesn't like it. And when I was just also investigating not only the technology but all this Web3 context, I was seeing dozens of projects that was just to publish NFT because it is hot topic. But and we will think later on for what we have this NFT, maybe for nothing, but we have. So the problem and this is probably a typical thing in a bubble, kind of a bubble, when everyone wants to adopt the technology because it is hot topic, and then later on we will try to find out the real use case for it. And now I believe I'm even pretty happy that we have this kind of crypto winter, because now it's the time when people are seeing, okay, so now we have calmed down, let's sit down and let's try to find business models behind many of those projects, or maybe invent new ones. And in the same context, Crowdpub, as I am calling this project, business model is just about book publishing. Book writing, so it is pretty well-known thing. Like everyone knows what is a book and that you can write a book. The idea here is that how you can utilize what blockchain gives us, and blockchain gives us democratized things. It is permissionless. One of the nicest concepts about blockchain is the concept of decentralized autonomous organization, when a bunch of people that even don't know each other or maybe even don't trust each other so much can start to work on the things all together, because the trust is in the blockchain. I would say it is a kind of a coded law, as you can say it. Kind of you just, obviously there will be always some margin for bad actors, but the overall idea is that we have a common platform thanks to which we can cooperate and make things together with financial incentive, for example, because it is still on blockchain, but also we can do whatever we want because we can program blockchains. We have smart contracts, so we can program voting. You can create decentralized organization that will gather funds to invest in an expensive land in metaverse, and then it is all coded on blockchain, and we have trust there, because for me, blockchain is even not about ownership only, but in law in general, that we can somehow force, track, and trust each other because we have law somehow controlled by the blockchain itself. So imagine that 100 people from all over the world want to invest all together in a single entity, like no, let's say land in metaverse 3.0, whatever we call it. It is impossible in terms of the law. If they are from various countries, it will be huge, or even I would say probably impossible to grasp legal thing
from the regulatory framework.
Exactly, from the regulatory, how to coordinate it, how to translate all the documents from all around the people, what are the law here and there. And what blockchain gives us is that we have it in one place. We have the common platform that realizes this trust. Everyone puts some funds, everyone sees what's there. No one can take those funds because we agree on some kind of voting, what we do with those funds, and then we can do things with those funds. And all this is because the blockchain is a trustless kind of environment. Speaking of this introduction, my Crowdpub project is about applying this to book writing. What if dozens of authors could write a book in this spirit? Because we have something to write, we have a common thing to do, like writing a book, and it may happen, I strongly believe so, that many people have something important to say. You, me, and a few dozen people probably we could now get in touch together and say, hey, let's write a book about podcasting, because you drive a podcast, I was a podcast guest, there are many other people that know something about podcasts. So with the help of this platform, you will be able to write it, work on this book, collaborate on this book, publish it, and sell it. All it will be kind of thanks to this technology, but it is just the implementation point of view. What is important here, that we are basing it on the fact that we will be able to track and trust each other, that we will write it, that this book will be published. Later on, we will be tracking what are the numbers of copies sold here and there, and then even we can, because it is still everything on chain, we can, for example, that's the crucial idea. We can calculate what's your input, what's my input, what's the total, relative part of royalties that you should get, because from every copy sold from this book, because we can calculate it if you have it, the whole input that you have done for this particular book. And this trust, we have here this trust, it is like decentralized autonomous organization created for writing a book. And that's the idea. Like from the writing part, it is like a little new, or maybe completely new, that depends how you see, a way of writing books. Community-driven way of writing books. When multiple people join, they force us to write a book. The idea comes from my own pain, because I also wrote a book. It is over 1,000 pages, so it took me a lot of effort to write it. I know, and I have in contact with any other authors, everyone is saying the same. Writing a book is a huge commitment. It is really a lot of work. And many people are also afraid of that. So why not to spread this effort? Why not to have multiple people that will help you, that also have a lot of things in your topic probably to say about it? So let's join together and write a book, and then simply track how it sells and track all the changes on chain, for example. That's the idea. That's the idea from the writing part. But before we will ask another maybe question related to that, I also want to add that there is a second part, because what blockchain gives us also is this ownership. So you can represent owning something, because now we have a way of saying that that's yours and you can do something with that. So we can apply it for ebook, for example. If you have both a book and now we have a technology that will be able to say, okay, this is your own ebook, then you can sell it, for example. So one of the big changes that we are saying, I believe, because of blockchain is that we have a secondary market in digital things. Like you can sell things that you have both as a digital thing. You can sell books, you can sell courses if the platform will allow that, and that will be one of these new business models, I believe. You can start to earn some royalties because of the market, of the free market, of these things that you have sold some time ago. So that would be the second part of it. You have this book, you have bought it some time ago, you have read it, but now you want to sell it because you don't want it anymore, and that's a nice thing, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the business model, because you said that the business model, it's probably the most important sort of problem that we need to figure out how this will work, and from the technology point of view and also from the user experience point of view. So we know in Web 2 there's a concept called SaaS, which is software as a service. Would you consider Crowdpub to be sort of Web 3 SaaS, or that will be something completely different?
I mean, in context of SaaS, we are mostly it is mostly about APIs that, or maybe not. It is in general about kind of software that does something for you, and you just are paying it in terms of subscription or something to use it. So yes, that would be kind of SaaS for book writing. And obviously it is totally fine, because SaaS is a context much more wider than Web 2 or 3. It is just a context what you are selling. And here, indeed, yes, you can sell simply the possibility to write book in that way. And you can earn from selling these books. You can earn as a platform. You can earn from the secondary market when people are selling these books to each other, because it is tracked on chain. And you can also make another things, like it is really hard to do that now, but with this technology you can, for example, invite people with some financial incentive to improve these books. So you, as a reader, for example, if you have access to it, you can suggest your own changes. You can suggest typo fixes, and then, because it is all public and tracked on chain, if you will be voted and other co-authors will agree that those fixes make sense, you will start to earn some small part of royalty from the future book sales, because you have improved the book itself. And if someone will say, okay, but probably we will be able to do something like that now, I agree, but why it doesn't happen then? Why we didn't have it? Because it is really hard if we don't have a common platform that allows to have everything on the same place. And one of these big, I would say, features of blockchain is that it is composable, I would say. So you can use it from different parts, integrate it with different things. So now we can create cryptocurrency that will be just as financial incentive for improving this book, but it can be integrated with the decentralized exchanges, then that you will be able to change this token to real money, or maybe we can integrate it with some platform that allows voting on those books. I mean, blockchain is really composable because it is just one technology that can be built from the different pieces.
So obviously you believe in many thousands of tokens, because there are different paradigms in this whole blockchain space. Some people believe that there's only one called Bitcoin and there's no others. And you obviously believe that there can be thousands of tokens and they can have different, like kind of gift cards, right? For example, or airline, points that you collect. So it already exists, but it's just what technology, where do you put it, who controls that?
Exactly. And yes, I would say I'm not so much into Bitcoin because it is not programmable. So I mean, at least this level, the original one. So it can be. I don't have anything against Bitcoin itself, but my interest is mostly around this that allows you to program. And then obviously we have the concept of tokens, when it is another business, new business model, when almost everyone out of the box is creating its own token for its own project. And I have completely no idea whether it will be the future way of doing these things, because we are just on the super early stage and we need to develop some good practices. For me personally, it makes sense because I can create token for my Crowdpub, let's call it book token or whatever, and then
maybe pub token.
Pub token, yes, pub token, it's a good name. And then it is good because I have full control over it. I can give it to some people. I'm not, controlled by any kind of future central bank or in general the general economy of this particular native token that is used on the particular blockchain. But I have my own token. I have full control what I'm doing with it. And the popularity of the platform itself, I believe, should evaluate this token, whether it is used for something, whether people should have it or maybe not. We will see how it will develop. But yes, I believe currently we are in the market, in the industry, at the level of investigating this kind of freedom.
So you're kind of in the discovery phase where are you actively developing Crowdpub or constantly doing research?
Both, but developing is early stage, I would say. So it is more the proof of concept stage or minimal valuable product, not the final one. But speaking of it, is that yes, and what I wanted to say is that there is probably a huge amount of research behind us about this whole crypto economy, token economy, which is just to be discovered. I'm this small guy that tries to apply it, have some ideas how it can be used. Maybe will contribute a little bit of this practical, real world experience, what the particular crypto economy may be used for, but for sure, I hope so, there will be a lot of research at universities and so on about this topic, because if I was learning now economy on some university, I would be super keen to make a research it as a kind of, master of degree or whatever, because it's super nice. It is like discovering new type of economy. So it is not a super common thing that you can live in a times when you discover such thing.
And it's also very sensitive because it's touching on the concept of money. What is money? We've known money to be, this sort of government by decree, which is basically by trust, and then government controlling the, money. But then now we have a completely different paradigm that's transparent on the blockchain, but it's because it's such an explosion of technology and experiment and research, it's still very difficult to define where the value really is. What's the business model, as you said. So is there any way to support you or join the project if our listeners are interested in that?
The best way now is just to go to my page, the project page, crowdpub.org, and just register to the waitlist, because it is the only CTA that you have now there. But in general, if you are interested, if you feel the idea, because it is all about lowering the entry level of the decision that you want to write a book. Many people will not write a book, not because they don't have anything to say, but because they are afraid of the time effort. But if you will jump in and you will find some colleagues that will help you, then you will just make it, and then you will have satisfaction, financial benefit, and also other stuff that comes from having a book. So go to my page and register to the whitelist and wait until you will be invited, because I plan.
I just added myself to the wait list.
Awesome.
So you have successfully joined our waiting list.
So the conversion rate is great, 100%.
Yes, exactly. For now. So last question, because I started off with introducing you as a .NET developer. I wanted to touch briefly on your background as well, because we were just so focused on Web3 that I wanted to really just roll on with that. But maybe you can give our listeners, our audience, sort of an overview of who you are and how you started, as a developer, what languages other than .NET.
My story is that I'm a typical nerd, so I wanted to make computer science since I saw a computer as a child when I was seeing some very first Atari game, and I just love computer in general. So there was always an easy decision what I want to do for a living. So I was doing programming for a living for many years. I started from C++ technology because it was nerdish enough to have a super full control over the program and the machine itself. But then it started that at the very first job, they needed .NET developer, not C++ developer, although I was hired as C++ developer. So I converted very quickly and then I stayed. So I may say I'm in .NET ecosystem for many years, 16 or something. And I didn't look so much to different ones, obviously to have some inspiration, to know what are other languages or platforms doing, yes, but I was mostly still using .NET. But it is changing during last year because I also, as you said, doing some workshops, speaking. I have co-founded also a company that is doing trainings and online trainings. So since few years, I feel even more as a trainer, kind of interpreter, as I said, guy trying to spread the knowledge about programming even more than programming on everyday basis.
Teacher, entrepreneur.
Kind of, yeah.
So you decided to share the experience and knowledge that you've gained, and also monetize that, because there is a lot of people in need who need your help.
I would say monetization was always kind of the second level. I mean, obviously we want somehow to monetize it, but it always starting from the having fun and that feeling that it is something that you really want to do. It gives you satisfaction. Impact, exactly. To give back also what you have to get from others when you was starting. So, kind of building personal brand, I believe it is super important. Like maybe not everyone should do that now, but at least should think whether maybe it is worth to do that in some time. Maybe I will start to...
And start preparing.
Exactly, start preparing. You can start softly, like create blog and just blog something from time to time. So it doesn't mean you need to now go to conferences since tomorrow, but and speak to hundreds of people, but still
start with one person. One person.
I personally started from Stack Overflow. I must admit, and every programmer probably is exposed to the problem of burnout, because in the end it is pretty repetitive work. Like we are inventing all the same wheels, all the same controllers, business models applied, domains. And after a few years, also I felt a kind of burnout when as I always perceived myself as a nerd, was simply not looking at computer at home because I was just having enough totally. Like I was not able to look at monitor, and it was not a good thing in the end because it was not a good work-life balance. It was just a burnout, and it started that someone has opened my eyes that you can start to get some points on this platform. It is called Stack Overflow. and it clicked. Like, it is really kind of nice gamification. When you start to answer others people's questions, you start and you have this dopamine hit that you have someone started to accept your answers. You start to be helpful, you start to learn things because there are more questions. Sometimes you need to discover something new because obviously we don't need all the answers in head, so we need to do some research. And you start to see that, okay, so this is still fun. Like, it doesn't have to be this boring coding that you have in your work every day, but it is just a fun. And then it started from that, and then it was more and more. But for me, the Stack Overflow was this. Yeah.
So impact, contribution, gamification, dopamine for you, but also a challenge, you know.
Exactly. And coming back slightly to Web3, now it is a question, because Stack Overflow is a typical Web2 app. Hundreds of thousands of people are contributing to them, to the questions, answering those questions, but they are just doing this, and I was just doing this solely for the purpose of reputation points. For the satisfaction, for self-development, which is fine, absolutely. I was doing that also, so it helped me a lot. But now it's the question, if Stack Overflow 3.0 could introduce maybe kind of financial incentive for those people that
are you aware if they're working on anything underneath?
Absolutely, I have no idea. But it doesn't mean that someone else will not create a startup like just to copy paste this idea, but also
and disrupt. Disrupt this sort
exactly.
of, you know, the different model of sort of Stack Overflow.
Because the idea is in the end pretty simple. Because of the transparency of blockchain, you could, for example, share a part of revenue that you get from other source of income with the people that are answering your questions. That's as easy, like, but because of blockchain, you can do that. You could do that also not without blockchain, but I believe blockchain simply helps to do that. It is not a rocket science that changes absolutely everything, but it simply makes it easier, because it is composability, permissionless, transparency, and all the other stuff.
So let me ask you the last question before I let you go. And I'm very thankful for your time, for the last 45 minutes. How much of your time, in percentage, how much of your time is dedicated now to blockchain, Web3?
That's a tricky question, because I also work as a .NET developer for a company that is blockchain driven. So wow. It is kind of I simply work for Ethereum, for Nethermind, which is an Ethereum client written in .NET. The company is much bigger, and this client is only part of their business, but still they need .NET developers like me. So I'm helping them for each other, for example. So that's kind of 18% in total, I would say, because when starting a new project,
80 or 18?
80.
80% of all your time is dedicated now to Web3. Blockchain.
I converted.
Wow! And when did you make that decision? When did you make that switch to go to 80?
Like half year ago, when I just. What I'm saying is, what I was thinking is that for Web 1, I was too young. For Web 2, I was too dumb. So maybe
I love it.
For maybe Web 3, I don't want miss a chance to try to something that is, disruptive a little and connected with a new kind of evolution that we are calling Web 3.
Too young, too dumb. And now
trying,
and now making sure that you do not miss opportunity.
Exactly, not too
taking
lazy.
chances. So maybe too young, Web 1 too young, Web 2 too dumb, and Web 3
I would say too lazy.
Chasing opportunity.
Or maybe I won't say in few years too young, too dumb, too lazy. because now if I will not jump into it, it will be only laziness.
Totally.
I see the opportunities, I see what it can give me, what I see problems that it can be solved with the help of it. So instead of laughing at it or writing funny memes about cryptocurrencies, I really want to try to take this technology, understand it, and apply it to something that helps people simply.
Awesome. Konrad, appreciate you. And I see there's a lot of talent, not scared of crypto winter. Like people are not even like looking at that. Obviously it affects them because it's the part of this whole ecosystem. But as you said, 80%, imagine, so just for all the people just finishing and wrapping up, 80% of the talent's time is now focused on blockchain, crypto, Web3. If you guys are not investing your time and learning about it, then I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, give it a chance. Like, I'm a nerd. I'm a guy which was always performance geek. I really care about milliseconds and memory usage and all this stuff, energy. I really know what are the problems currently, but we are on early stage. So just develop and try to understand it before bashing it and laughing at it.
And we will also add your Twitter and LinkedIn here, Konrad Kokosa, obviously, but we'll add the links in the description, so that's easier for people to find you. And obviously, I would give you a sticker, no grucha.
Awesome. You should make NFT out of it.
I should make NFT, but I don't know how to do it, and how to kind of.
It is super easy.
What's the model, behind it? Because would there be just one or just different type of gruchas? I don't know.
It depends. It really, and now we have this new, possibilities and models that are emerging. So
yeah. I think I should make an NFT, and every guest, that gets on the podcast maybe gets, no grucha NFT, and then maybe,
exactly.
And then they have,
and
there you go.
And they will be worth millions.
We're gonna be billionaires.
Exactly.
That's another thing that
everything in blockchain ends with money. So
yeah. But that's a funny sort of on that funny note. It's good to finish and make sure that people focus on building, and we focus on building, on talking to each other, understanding each other, communicating to people the real value. And I have an idea, Konrad. You just let me know the feedback for the show. So the title of this show would be "The Whole Truth About Blockchain Web3 from the Nerd or from the Programmer."
Maybe. I'm not sure if it was the whole through, but at least it can be clickbaitish title.
Yeah, Konrad, thank you for your time. Appreciate you. And appreciate you that you're also showing as an example to other programmers, to other guys in the technology space, to other nerds like me and others, that it's very important to go outside your comfort zone and use a different language that's global, that's about technology, and not be scared. So I just wanted to applaud you for that, and again, thank you very much, and till the next time.
Thank you.
Życie bez gruchy. Jedyny życiowy podcast w Polsce stworzony dla geeków.